So if you don't know, Rivals of Aether 2 had a long demo where I clocked in over 60 hours of strictly just playing it. So I'd like to think I have a pretty good opinion on the strength of the characters. So I'm going to be doing Void's version of a Rivals 2 tier list. This is going to be 100% my own opinion, just how I feel about the characters off of playing for so long. I like to try to keep it to just my own thoughts for the most part, and sometimes it ends up being wrong, but you know, I think I'm right. Let's be honest, I'm never wrong. So starting things off is Clairen. Now, I personally think Clairen is a very, very good character. I think Clairen has amazing stats. I think Clairen's recovery is pretty good. I think Clairen has just big hitboxes, grab combos, great special pummel. I think Clairen's really, really good. How good? Personally, I actually think Clairen is S+ tier. Kind of surprising, but to me, a big part of this is I think Clairen is really easy to pick up and like find really good levels of success with. And I personally value that a lot when I think of the strengths of a character. While I might not think Clairen is actually like top 2 or top 3 in the game, I think you can find a lot of success from playing Clairen, maybe even easier than some of the characters who might be above Clairen. So to me, I think Clairen is one of the best characters to play in the game right now, and because of that, I would put Clairen in S+ tier. Being able to have throw combos into tippers that kill at like very, very early percents is pretty nuts, and I also think it's very fulfilling to play as Clairen because there's so many of these confirms that you can very like visibly be working on and doing. You know, sometimes you just explode people. I think that's really, really awesome. Tiers will not be ordered. I don't think I have enough info to really know who's better than the other within the tiers. So next up is Fleet. Now, Fleet is a kind of weird character to place for me because I feel like Fleet actually is pretty popular and has a lot of success, but doesn't feel like she's supposed to be that strong in correlation to her results. For me, I'm gonna put Fleet in A+. I think this opinion can get changed very, very easily, as I actually think Fleet is really strong, but I feel like there are certain times where Fleet just doesn't feel as great as some of the other characters, and the level that you have to end up playing and like getting your Fleet to versus some of the other characters I think can be really difficult. She's still really light. Sometimes it's like it can be hard to find kills. I think some of the stuff you need to do to play Fleet is just a lot more difficult than the other characters, even though I think Fleet can end up being incredibly strong. For me, I think she's in A+ tier. Though I do think she is incredibly sick. I think her side special is low-key one of the best moves like in the entire game. It's a great setup move. She has good stuff off of throws. Both of her pummels are really good too. I actually think Fleet is in a very good spot. I wouldn't be fooled by how low on the tier list she is. Don't be fooled. She's in a really good spot. Forsburn. Now, you guys already know the Deception Man himself. Now, I truly think that Forsburn belongs in Forsburn tier. That's right. Forsburn at the F. But hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. I deceived you guys, okay? If you changed this F, but you added a line kind of like this at the end of it, what does that look like? That's right. It's an A. You got deceived, didn't you? Now that's one of Forsburn's biggest strengths. So I've put pretty much all of my time into playing him, and I've had my woes. I thought he was bottom 1. I thought he was bottom 2. I've even thought he was top 10. For now, I don't think he's too strong because, one, I think he is a lot more difficult to learn how to play. You do have to, like, Fleet is difficult, but Forsburn is like the next level. I feel like his disadvantage when it comes to recovering is really weak. And it's just like, when it comes to scoring kills, his skill moves aren't very strong. But where he does excel in is his neutral is really good, clone is amazing, smoke is amazing. He has really good aerials. Low-key, his aerials are probably some of the best in the entire game, if I want to just completely be for real. The more I play him, the more I understand where his strengths are. I just personally think that he does have to put in a lot of work to get to the point where he is a very strong character. And I could even see him being a very strong character. And I've talked to a lot of people about how strong he is and what things he did in Rivals 1, what things he could be doing better. And I think he pretty much is just going to be moving up, if I want to be completely honest. So this is just week 1 Forsburn versus multiple months of betas of the other characters. So I think Forsburn definitely has room to grow, and I've even been showing it a lot with my own Forsburn. So I'm excited to keep playing him and to just continue deceiving people, you know? Next up is Kragg. Now, some people think this character sucks. Some people think this character is godlike. I honestly think he sucks, but like he's kind of godlike. You know what I'm saying? So Kragg has a lot of simple things that are very, very effective. He's very strong with his attacks. He has very fast attacks. He's very heavy, so he can be really difficult to kill. So he can hold down for a really long time. His recovery is either the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. I think Kragg ultimately is an amazing character under stress. I think that executing his game plan feels like something that can be very consistently executed regardless of the environment that Kragg is playing in. And I think that is one of his biggest strengths. Honestly, Kragg makes me feel like I want to play a heavy character in a platform fighter. And I don't think I've ever felt that way before. So I think he's a really awesome design of a character. Like, he's a heavy that just throws hands with you, man. Like, that's so awesome. Like, I wish I played him, but I have morals, so I can't. So ultimately, I do think Kragg is a very strong character, but I think that there are very clearly characters that are above him. Last thing on Kragg, I feel like his consistent level kind of outweighs his potential lows. And when you fight the really good Kraggs, it's really hard to edgeguard him too. So I think that really makes me feel like Kragg is a pretty solid character. The little up B cancel thing. Now, a heavy that I just don't really want to play, but still looks really fun, is Lox. Now, Lox, honestly, I've seen this character get pretty good results. So I actually think he's like kind of strong, but like he's kind of bad. So all I'm saying is if you combine like an F, you know, hypothetically, like if there's like an F and like a lowercase L, you know, what do you get? That's right, baby. A tier. Let's go. I just don't think Lox is that good. So he definitely goes into the Forsburn Lox tier. The recovery is like sometimes good. I say that he has a better recovery than Forsburn, which is pretty funny. But his recovery is pretty exploitable with, I think, a lot of characters. I think Lox's biggest problem is his matchups just look really, really, really bad, man. This character looks awesome to play. He's really fast. He has gigantic hitboxes. He has the magma stuff. So he's super sick, man. And he feels really powerful. But Coney said it best. Lox is like really powerful, but you're fighting in a game of like S+++ characters. So to me, I don't feel like Lox can really keep up with a lot of the other characters. Though he can have his potential highs. So I understand the sentiment that a lot of people have where like every character can kind of do it in this game. A couple days ago, I didn't feel that way, but I put in the hours to get better and learn what Forsburn could be doing. And just in general, I do feel like Lox has what it takes. I wouldn't put a character below this A tier. He's huge in a combo heavy game, but he's very light. Not light, like floaty. So he doesn't get comboed as hard as like some of the other characters. So that is a very neat trait of his. Very DDD-esque. So next up is Maypul. This character is a demon. I don't think this character should exist in any capacity. It's kind of ridiculous what Maypul can do in this game. But to me personally, it feels like things can be a little more difficult sometimes for the Maypuls, where I expect like you need a lot of player skill to bring out what Maypul can do. So for me, I actually think Maypul is an S tier. I don't think Maypul is an S+ tier. And a big reason for that, from my own experiences, I feel like if Maypul was like super duper broken, I would be seeing more. That is ultimately how I feel about characters when it comes to like the tippity top. And I don't see like a hell of a lot of Maypuls when it comes to the tournaments. I don't see a lot of them in ranked. And of course they leave like a very strong impression on me. And I think the character is like just ridiculous. The character moves at the speed of light. The character's recovery is amazing even without any other setup. The character has like crazy combo game. They just fly around the map and somehow is pressuring you. The dash attack's good. The side B is good. The down B is good. The smash attacks are good. The tilts are good. Like Maypul is pretty nuts. But I just feel like it can be a little harder to have those things work out when it comes to majority levels of gameplay. Though at the top, I can see things being different. So I could definitely, I mean, I could see, I wouldn't say I could see Maypul moving up. I would just see like Clairen moving down, because I think Clairen could definitely get like weaker in regards to my own opinion of them. So next up is Orcane. Now Orcane is probably the character I have the least experience fighting, and I've seen a good amount of Orcane when it comes to higher elo ranked and tournaments. But I feel like for Orcane, things don't feel like super duper crazy. It feels very tricky to get a lot of the stuff that some other characters might be able to get a little easier. So I'm going to put Orcane in A+, personally. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this character. I'm still learning, but it feels like there's not a lot of Orcanes, and the strength isn't like crazy high. So for me, I wouldn't justify putting Orcane in the next tier, because I feel like the next tier has demons in it. And I don't feel like Orcane is demon tier. However, Orcane's recovery is insane. I think that recovery is phenomenal. Orcane's on-stage presence is really good too. But I feel like a lot of the time, Orcane has to be flying at you to make things work, even though the dash dance and wave dash is really good. And I feel like that gives me a lot of opportunities to fight back against Orcane. And personally, it makes me move Orcane a little lower, because sometimes against other characters, I don't feel like I have those opportunities. But between the up tilt, the really strong smash attacks, the good recovery, the bubbles, I feel like Orcane is a very strong character. I think Orcane also looks very fun to play. And Orcane's just cute. Like, come on. So next up is Ranno. I think this character is God. I think this character is literally like, if you wanted to build a bear of a platform fighter character, you would create Ranno. This character has everything. Frame 6 fair, needles, command grab, great special pummel, great combos off of throw, great tilts, great hitfall aerials. He has everything, in my opinion. So I would put Ranno in S+. I think amongst all of those things, I wouldn't say he is really easy to pick up, because I don't know, but there is so many Rannos. So to me, it feels like his game plan is very consistent. He can either rush you down and be very effective, he can camp you and be very effective. He has a lot going very well for him. His stats are really good, his recovery is really good, last stock, last hit is really good, stray smash attacks are really good. Yeah, and he has Steve block. He has Steve block that he can telekinesis to wherever he wants to put it. Yeah, no, I think this character is S+. But the thing about Ranno and Clairen is, I think a big part of it right now is their accessibility to me. I see them all the time. The game plan is very strong. And honestly, like, sometimes it feels like they have to mess up in order for me to feel like I can get a win. I think those characters are just like phenomenal. Just great characters. Now, Wrastor, oh my god, dude. I have been raging about this character. I really have. So it's so hard for me to accurately place him, because I know it's a combination of, I think Forsburn Wrastor is just like really hard, and Wrastor is just like an amazing character. But honestly, like, I'll see like one Wrastor every 10 hours, and that just doesn't make sense to me. So Wrastor to me has the same problem as Maypul. Like, I think the player base of this game is strong enough and is big enough to where I would be seeing more of them if it's just like really easy to execute the game plans. And I think these two characters are just way more fun. But to me, I just don't feel like Wrastor has the accessibility of these two characters. So I would put Wrastor in the same tier as Maypul, where I feel like these characters are nuts, but something about them just isn't accessible. But Wrastor is literally Marth Jigglypuff. He's so nuts. All of his aerials are good. I feel like all of his smash attacks are good. You go off stage and you feel like you're gonna die. He's throwing you. He's flying around, being impossible to hit. He has one-time use Falco Laser. He's insane, man. So I'm happy I don't see more of them, and I hope it stays that way. Last but not least is Zetter. This is another character that I personally do not like fighting. I genuinely hate fighting Zetter. I feel like every Zetter, including mine, just boots up the game, like, no thoughts, head empty, just mashing every button possible. And, like, it's so hard to fight. But I personally feel like Zetter can bleed. I think that there are ways around some of the stuff that he does do, even amongst the mashing. So while I feel like he does have high highs, I feel like his low can be kind of similar to Kragg's. So not even like the recovery. I feel like there are ways to fight him on stage 2, but maybe this is just me imagining this. But that's why this is my tier list, baby, and we're putting him in S-. So ultimately, from my point of view, I feel like Zetter and Kragg can bleed a lot more than the characters above them. But I think their game plan is really consistent when it comes to like stressful environments. So I would argue this is like the tournament character tier, like low-key. So yeah, ultimately, this is how I see the game right now. I think a lot of it is, I mean, it is just my opinion. I think it would change if I saw a wide amount of characters or played the game a lot more. But ultimately, this is what it boiled down to. I think Ranno and Clairen are very accessible. I think they're probably the characters you can find the most success with if you pick them up right now, if you're just brand new to the game. I think Maypul and Wrastor are phenomenal characters, but if you pick them up, I don't know, you might have trouble, or you might just not like them because they're boring. I think that they have their own issues outside of actual character strength. I think Zetter and Kragg can definitely have some pretty low lows, but you can also have amazing highs. I think that they are just pretty much like they can be on the same tier as the other characters. Maybe not all the time. And then I feel like Fleet Orcane, you need a little more work to reach the demon tier of the S's. And Forsburn Lox, aka the FL tier. I feel like things are a little harder for them, but same thing, I feel like you can still find success with them. Might just be a little harder. Would I buff on Fleet? I don't know. I think everybody in the game is pretty fine. But personally, I wouldn't need, I think everybody in the game is pretty fine. I think letting the meta establish itself is fine. I'm really happy with the balance of the game too. I've been spending the last week really just like practicing and grinding and actually being unhappy with the balance of the game. But I think I've gotten to a point where I am really happy with a lot of the stuff that every character can provide, be it a different playstyle or ways to beat the game mechanics itself. And ultimately, that leads to a very enjoyable Rivals 2 experience. So yeah, this is it. Appreciate you guys for listening to me yap about how I feel the Rivals 2 characters were, at least in the demo, going into the release of Rivals 2. And honestly, this is just my opinion. This could change in 5 minutes. This could change tomorrow. Who knows? But I think it's always cool to have something like a tier list out there because I can always compare and contrast how my opinion changes over time. So yeah, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to me, and have a good night.